you must tune your bass to up.
Hello and welcome to RHNN. In today's episode, we acquire a brand new big brain man in Robert Abernack in order to repair a PlayStation 1. We've kept him awake for 2 days because we think sleep deprivation is hilarious. But we've also told him that if he messes this up like Bordeaux did last time, he'll be fired. Anyways, enough of me, it's his time to shine. Today we're going to be working on an SCPH-5552 and an SCPH-102b. It doesn't say B on the bottom, but I promise you it is a B. We're going to start with the Phat. But for both we're going to need as low a dilute alcohol as possible, some silicone or lithium grease, some brushes and a crosshead screwdriver. So the first thing we need to do is flip the console over, and as standard with this generation of console we've got 6 screws. Oh yeah! Now just in case you don't know, the Nintendo PlayStation was a prototype CD-ROM hardware DLC for the SNES. Before release, Sony said they wanted sole licensing rights and Nintendo said nah, we hear Philips makes a banging console and tried going with them instead. In response, Sony said fuck it, we've got the name and we already built the thing, let's do a funky flex. And so they did in 1994, selling 102.5 million by 2006 and making bare P in the process, fam. Before we continue, I'd like to state that this PlayStation has been worked on and refurbished before, but the small line PS1 is as of yet unrefurbished, unopened and completely untested. Now you want to flip this round again and slide off the top chassis. Now as you can see there's not much in here. You've got your CD reader, got your memory card and controller ports, got your power supply, your motherboard under here and a few cables. Remove the cables, remove your CD drive, it just lifts up. Remove these 2 screws from the rear of the power supply and remove these 2 screws from the memory card and controller ports. And then both should just lift out. Removing them should just leave you with this. Remove these 4 screws and then just lift up the RF shield. Now depending on how long yours has been in storage, yours may be a bit sticky or finicky, but tiny little bit of force never hurt anyone, especially a 32-year-old console. Undo these 4 screws towards the back of the board, then lift up the board and RF shield and separate the 2. This is every single component to a PlayStation 1. You've got your motherboard, your upper and lower RF shields, you've got your upper and lower chassis, and then you've got your power supply, your ports and your CD reader. Now normally you wouldn't be able to seal this because the heat plate / heatsink is soldered directly onto the board. But because I'm ever such a nice guy, I've decided to give you a little glimpse. Now you want to do a dry run with your brush to get rid of as much loose debris as you possibly can. Maybe do 2 runs just in case. Afterwards you want to get your isopropyl alcohol and do the same again, get rid of as much as you can. Now getting under these heat sinks is quite awkward, so I recommend using a brush like this to try and get under as much as you can. You can also use compressed air just to blow out as much as possible. Oh, remember not to neglect the other side. Do the same with your RF shield and then place your motherboard in the lower part. Now let's move on to servicing the other components. Do the same as you did with a motherboard for the PSU, and then near on the same with the memory card and controller ports. The only additional attention you really need to pay is to the memory card ports themselves, but again a small brush like that is absolutely perfect for clearing the gap. With the CD drive, one of the first things you want to do is inspect the spindle. I'm not going to do it personally because they're press fit, and if you push them down too far the disc starts rubbing against it. But if you can, you want to remove this part and you want to grease the motor on the inside with silicone or lithium grease. Same goes on the other side, but we're going to cover that in a moment. Flipping it over, remove these two screws. I'm pretty sure there's meant to be a third one here, but this one doesn't have it for some reason, but I could also be entirely wrong. And then remove this plastic plate. And then do the same with the top cover. Clean it with isopropyl alcohol in the brushes as you have with everything else. Now we want silicone and lithium grease here, under the spindle, but again I'm not going to remove mine. Here, and some here. It'd also help if you put some on the track. If you're using a pressurised spray grease like me, then just use some isopropyl alcohol to re-clean the laser, because if there's any smudges on the lens, it's just not going to work either at all or not as well. And then just leave it to dry. Place the top and bottom plastic plates back on, and remember the top plate slides in between the spindle and the base. Place all the screws back in. Before we clean the chassis, please note that the power, eject and top tray are easily removable. You just need to undo a couple of screws. I won't personally, just because. On a separate note about buttons, when you take them out, keep in mind that the power button is spring loaded and that you pay extra special care to the passage in between the power and eject buttons, strictly because it likes to get gunked up with shit, and that's how you get your sticky buttons. Now with the plastic pieces, you can literally just wash them up with dish soap or whatever you've got on hand. When you replace the power button, put that spring in like that, line up the hole and push down. Place the top of your RF shield back on, and then take your completed motherboard assembly and place it to the rear right of the lower chassis. There's little tabs it should slot into. You'll know once it's in, it won't want to move unless you lift it. Apologies, I am very stupid. Remove the top of your RF shield and put these 4 gold screws in here. Now put the top of the RF shield back on. Place these 4 screws back in spot and then screw them back up. Take your power supply, align it with those 2 notches there and slide it in. Plug in this cable here. Take your memory card and controller ports. You've got 2 pegs here at the front of the chassis. Just align with those pegs and you should be fine. Make sure you plug this in too. And then our last electrical component, take your disk drive, align these silicone holes with these pegs here. Once you're done, it should be sat like this, and make sure you bring the cable under here so you can plug it in. Plug both of these in. Once you're done, it should look something like this. Get the last 4 golden screws and put one there, one there, one there and one there. Once you've done that, take the top of your chassis and just slide it over top. Check all round, make sure there's no gaps. I haven't got an expansion port, so that's just going to look mank. Test all the buttons work. And if you've got electric, test it. I'm probably going to get a leisure battery at some point, but I know it works. It should do anyway. If it doesn't, I'll be very surprised. Flip the console over and then you know what to do. Flip it over one last time. And then there you have a fully refurbished PlayStation 1. Now that this is complete, we're going to move on to its little brother, the PS1. You already know exactly what to do. Flip it over and undo the 6 screws on the bottom. Oh yeah! I've never actually taken apart a PS1, but I'm thinking it can't be too architecturally different from the PlayStation 1. It'll probably have a couple of integrated bits, like the memory card ports will probably be integrated onto the motherboard itself, but other than that, it'll probably be the same. Flip the console over and remove the top chassis. As I thought, it's similar to a PS2 Slim in construction. Remove these cables, pick up your CD drive, remove the RF shield. This is the motherboard. Pick up the motherboard from the rear AV port, but be very careful. It's actually remarkably clean considering it's never been opened. Remove the lower RF shield. Yet again, the top and bottom chassis can be cleaned in the sink, and so can the RF shield, but make sure to dry it really quickly before it rusts. Clean up the board, same method as before, isopropyl alcohol in a brush. Assuming all the parts are dry, take your lower RF shield and place it inside here. Take your motherboard and do the very same. And then take the top of your RF shield and do it yet again. Treat the CD drive exactly the same as you did the PlayStation 1 one. And then pick it up, place it over these 3 pegs and plug in the cables. Once that's done, it should look like this. Take your top chassis and place it on top like that. Then flip the console upside down and then it's standard protocol. Flip your PS1 over for the last time and that should be a beautifully working PS1. Now that we've got both consoles repaired, we're going to move on to peripherals. This is a Pocketstation for the PlayStation 1. It was essentially Sony's attempt at a Tamagotchi. It was Japan exclusive and I genuinely don't know why anyone would throw these fucking things out. This one definitely works, but these two I found wrapped up in cling film in 2021. I've never actually tested them, so today we're going to find out whether or not they work. So the Pocketstation takes a CR2032 battery, same as you'd use as a CMOS battery. All you do is unscrew that and place it in negative down. The clock definitely works, hopefully. We're just going to set the time and the date and make sure everything works fine. And I'm assuming we press that for done. So I must admit, I've never really used these before. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just going to wing it and hope it does what I want it to do. Oh, is that a game? Oh, I think that might be a game. So in order to get games on a Pocketstation, you need to have the NTSC-J variant of both a console and a game that supports the Pocketstation. You go into settings and some games have a transfer option where you can get the mini game from that game onto your Pocketstation. I fucking butchered that explanation, but you get the point, hopefully. You can also just use a memory card read/write tool and put whatever the fuck you want on it. That also works. What the fuck am I meant to do here then, right? Ah, there's a thing. Holy shit, Sony were way ahead of their time with their brain scanning technology. I think that's just a screensaver. I don't fucking know. I'll have to look it up. Ah, yes. I understand now. The clock works. I've got no idea what the fuck's going on, so I'm just going to move on to these two. Oh, and I forgot the most important part. To use it as a memory card, you literally just lift this flap up. Those are your buttons. You literally just pick it up and slot it in your console like any other memory card. It can read and write data without a battery, so even if you haven't got one, you'll be 100% fine if you're using it strictly as a memory card. This one works, and it has Poi Jump. That sounds wicked. Let's play some Poi Jump. It's just 90s Flappy Bird. Fucking brilliant, mate. Gutted. The third one's giving me no response, so we're going to open it up and see what's going on. First, you want to flip your Pocketstation over, locate these 4 screws and unscrew them. I would do it on camera, but I need to hold this down with one hand, otherwise it's just going to freestyle like a breakdancer in the 1990s. Once you've removed them, flip your Pocketstation over and pick this bit up. So I must be honest, I can't really find an issue, so I'm just going to clean it with some isopropyl alcohol and hope that solves the problem. Let's find out if that did anything. And it did. Ooh, this one says hello, it's really polite. Oh, and it loves me. Oh yay. Right, does this one also have a game? Oh, it does, it's an RPG. Oh, I'm well excited. Is that a Chocobo? Chocobo? I don't know what the fuck they're called. It's from Final Fantasy, I think. Oh mate, map 1, fucking well excited. I've never been so excited to level up a virtual pet as I am right now. This is enthralling gameplay. I'm 100% sure I'm not doing anything wrong. Oh, I can change direction. Oh wow. Oh, I can go forward and back. Oh, there's 3D. 3D on a handheld. I love it so much, I'm removing the battery. Are you noticing a pattern yet? I completely forgot to mention that there's also an inbuilt infrared sensor for transferring data between Pocketstations. Ooh, wow. This is a regular memory card. It goes in and it reads and writes PlayStation data. Yes, great, man. Now that we've got all four of those explained and worked on, it's time we move on to the controller. Yippee! This is an original PlayStation 1 controller. And as you can see, it's got no analog sticks, and the L2 and R2 buttons are exactly the same as the R1 and L1 buttons. When you flip the controller over, you'll notice there's these 8 holes full of screws. I've had to remove mine off camera because they were rusted and corroded as fuck, but just remove them and then lift off the back. This is what it looks like on the inside, and as you'll notice, there's no rumble or vibration motors. Pull these shoulder buttons out and then just lift your motherboard up and out. Once you've removed the motherboard, your unit should look like this. Now just start removing everything. That lifts up, that membrane lifts up, and all of this, if you really want, as long as you've got a large enough table, you can just swing this round. And this is what your controller should look like with all the components laid out individually. Unscrew these clips, then remove this back piece and the button behind it. In order to remove the L1 and R1 buttons, simply press in this clip and they should just fall straight out. This is what it should look like once the button assembly is removed. Clean the controller board as you would any other board, but for the plastic components I'm going to show you a super secret advanced technique. Grab yourself a spare toothbrush and dunk the head in some isopropyl alcohol. Now grab one of your absolutely disgusting buttons and clean it with a toothbrush. Once it's scrubbed down, and then take it out. Now if you've got a sink, this job will be made 100 times easier, but because I've only got isopropyl alcohol, I've got to do all this shit. Also use the toothbrush to get into all of these small grooves you normally can't, and then use it to clean all of the side skirting. And also the embossed lettering on the back of the controller. Make sure you clean under this membrane here, and once that's done you can start putting the controller back together. Now take all your face buttons and align all the notches on them with the notches in the controller. You can't really get this wrong because every notch is different for every button. Then replace the membrane that sits on the motherboard and the plastic piece that rests on top of the D-pad. Then slide in L1, R1 and the motherboard. Place it in the front of the controller by lining these holes up with these pegs. Once all the components are back in the front of the controller, it should look like this. Then align the buttonless bit with this notch here. Once you've got it looking like this, all you need to do is place the back over the front. I can't do it on camera because I need 2 hands to do this. Just be sure to align L1 and R1 with that guiding notch there. And that's it, mostly done. All you need to do now is flip it over and return all 8 screws back to their rightful spot. And it should look like this once it's done. Now that we've done that absolutely terribly, we can move on to the DualShock 1 controller. Flip it over and do what you did to the other one, except this one's only got 6 screws. Oh yay, less work. Now 3 of the first differences you'll notice with the DualShock 1 is it's got analog sticks, an analog button and a new R and L2 button design and layout. To remove the L and R2 buttons, all you do is put your finger up top and push inwards. Upon opening you'll realise there's 2 boards, one held in with 2 screws and also vibration motors. Undo these 2 screws. Once those 2 are unscrewed, locate your motors and push at the back to bring them up. If your controller's never been open like this one, then the motors may be a little bit sticky and hard to get out, but once they're out you should be good to go. Remove this top board, but be extremely careful because the solder joints on these motors like to snap extremely easily. This problem's actually worse on newer consoles and they will just snap if you look at them wrong. And once you flip this one up, the second board should just come up freely. Pull this clear plastic piece up and away, and the rest of the process is exactly the same as with the original PlayStation controller. These are all the components laid out flat. Pull up and away at the covers for the analog sticks, and then clean everything exactly the same as you did with the original controller. For the analog sticks, just use some isopropyl alcohol, and then once that dries, use a little bit of silicone grease and give it a twiddle round. Once everything's all clean and restored, you can go ahead and put it back together. And you also want to place both boards, the analog sticks and the motors, into the front of the controller. Your controller should now look something like this. Ignore that was there when I got it. Now place these two screws where they belong. Now it's time to place the back on. Quick tip, hold both pieces upside down so that you can align these notches here with these notches here. Once you've confirmed that all the buttons feel right, flip it over and screw it back up. And that's yet another controller complete. With all the consoles sorted and all the peripherals cleaned and restored, I'm going to try and get some sleep. Well, he's definitely fired. To be honest, you'd probably get better technical information if you looked this all up yourself. Oh well, I'm sure another repair facilitator will arrive again soon. So long, farewell, it's time to say goodbye.